Hello there everybody. What my intention today is to give you some idea of crafts you can do using old magazines or newspapers, and it's a technique which I call Decopatch. It's known as other things like Decopatch or anything like that. So what I'm going to do today is cover this plain old A4 yellow folder and just bling it up a little bit. Now I have a bit of an obsession with covering things, so for instance these things you can buy very cheaply or you might have got in, but you know, like an old exercise book, you could cover that and then use it for recipes or craft ideas, sewing ideas, or even just a fool's cap folder. Again, you can cover that. So these are just my kind of ideas of what you can do, and this is one that I did, just an old black folder. I've just done the front, but you can do it all over if you want, and I've got my favourite thing on there, which is an elephant, which is a topper that I have. So you don't have to necessarily use that, because today what I'm going to show you is how you can create a similar sort of thing but just using a magazine. So the magazine that I'm using, doesn't matter what it is, you can use a craft, sewing, fishing, anything. I'm just using this old National Trust magazine. So initially what I've done is I've gone through and I've found pictures that I like from the folder, because this is going to be the kind of theme that I'm wanting to do. So I found these lovely pictures of like seaside. I've got an otter, a kingfisher. So just cut these out, cut the shapes out that you want. So it could be a sewing machine, it could be something to do with craft, to kind of theme your folder, or recipes. It could be a picture of a cake, all that kind of thing. So these are what I call my main bits of my project, which I've cut out. Now what I wanted to do is create a background, so you could just stick those on and have that as your theme and that be it. But what I've done is I've had a lovely time ripping up the magazine. So I've ripped mine into strips, little bits, all sorts of shapes and sizes. So if you can see that there, that's all my bits ripped up into little tiny pieces, which are going to be the basis for this project. Now what we need to do is we're going to stick these onto the plain folder, the yellow folder that I showed you, and what I'm using for that is PVA and water mixed down, so it should be that kind of runny consistency, if you can see that. So I'm going to put that into a pot. Now if you don't have this mixture, you can make your own, and it's dead easy. All you need are equal quantities of flour and water. Put them in a pan and mix them together to get all the lumps, and like kind of simmer it up, let it cool down, and it gives you a nice paste. Apparently it's what my mum used to use when we were kids to do collages and stuff. So I'm not going to go through me putting all this on, I'll do that, but what I'll show you is the basis for it. So once you've got enough what you think strips cut up, then comes the messy bit. I do like a bit of messy craft. So I've got, if you can see there, I've got my folder. So I'm going to take my first strip and I'm going to completely dip it in the glue so that it's covered in glue, like that. Like that, look. Lovely. And I'm just going to put that there, I think. Now as you're going along, you'll get more and more glue on your folder, so you'll not need as much on your strips, because what we're doing, we're building up a base for this folder. So again, I've dipped it in the glue, and I'm going to go quite random here. I'm going all different ways. That one, small strip, we've got enough glue on there, we don't need any more to stick that on. So just use your judgment. Smooth it down, because that will give you a nice smooth finish. And this principle can be used as well on glass jars. It can be used on old boxes. You know, say if you've got something that's come in a box and you quite like the shape, if you cover it up with, you can use serviettes you can use, like I said, magazines and newspapers, anything that you've got, books, book pages, all that kind of thing. So it is very splodgy and very sticky. And with PVA and water, or with the glue that you can make yourself, what it does do as well is gives you a nice shiny covering to your work. So the more that you've got on and the more even it is, you get a nice shiny covering. So I'm going to go ahead and finish sticking all this on, and then I'll come back to you with what the next stage. And I've now got glue on my computer. Okay, so now much messier, stickier, and I've wiped all my hands down now. So let me just show you. I've covered the front of my folder with all those strips of magazine. Now you can see here it's hanging over the edge and it's still wet, so I want to leave that until it's dried out, and then you can just snip. I've left little bits of the folder showing around the edges to give it kind of a border, but you can cover it all or you can leave patches in between. So my next bit, I've got these nice other pieces here. So while it's still wet, I'm wanting to place them where I fancy on the folder. So I think that looks quite nice down the edge, the tree. And then I've got my kingfisher. So I'm going to put him there at the bottom. Now it's still wet enough for me to smooth that down, and then just put a little tiny bit of glue on your finger and just smooth it to stop any wrinkles, and it will dry nice and smooth. You only need a little bit just to cover it, just to give it that nice smooth edge. Same with this one on the corner here. This is actually from the front of the magazine, so it's a little bit thicker paper, so it's not sticking quite as well as the thinner stuff. But I just liked it, just thought it was a nice tree, so I thought I'd put that on there. Then my otter, I think I'm going to put there. So again, place it on, and it's still wet underneath. Just a little tiny bit of glue, just smooth it down, just to give it a smooth finish. Be very careful though with it, if it is thin, that you don't actually rip the magazine or whatever paper source you're using. And also, you don't just have to use paper. This does work very well with material as well. So if you've got old scraps of material, old t-shirts, anything like that, blouses, anything, shirts, you can just cut up. So again, I'm going to put my little boy there, look, in the river. Again, a little bit of glue on my finger. Smooth it down. And just place him there, and that's just basically a folder and a magazine, and I've produced a nice little file that I can put my gardening tips in. That's a gardening themed one. So I think what I'm going to do now is go ahead and do one for my sewing and one for my craft, and that's it for today's project. Thank you. I shall see you all soon.